guys, welcome to my podcast. My name is Susan and I am a computer engineering student at UBC, currently working as a full stack developer intern. And my aim for this podcast series is to just talk about the things that I'm curious about. So I might be talking about the books, or I might be talking about technology, I might be talking about what's happening in the society, or basically anything that comes to my mind that I want to learn more about. And I'll be doing some research and just talking about it. So I really wanted to do the podcast for a while now, and I hope I can continue. It's big getting out of my comfort zone too, because I'm a little shy person and it really takes me some courage to speak up, talk, just in general as well. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and if you have any feedback, please give me. Don't just keep it yourself, just let it out, and feel free to connect with me as well. So lately I've been reading this book called 0 to 1, and it's a great book for entrepreneurs or people who are interested in startups or even economics. And although I've just been reading first few chapters so far, I think it's a great book. Like, I can learn a lot of stuff that I didn't know about. So while learning, it was second chapter, I came across this term called dot-com bubble. And while I have heard about this term, I was not very familiar, like what happened, what went behind, what was the reason behind it, So I did a little bit of research for it, and I just wanted to talk about this today. So we all know that like in past 20 years, internet has changed drastically. Like, our lives has been changed by the way the internet evolved, right? So I kind of live in Japan, and just like 10 years ago, when I was in train, just walking around, everyone was reading books. But like right now, if I go to the trains and stuff, like I barely see any people who are, reading books, like reading a physical books. I don't know if they're reading in a phone, but like most of the people are just using phone, so that kind of shows how technology has advanced just in the past 10 years, I think. So we know that like internet has evolved drastically, and internet changed the way that we do shopping or even talk to each other, or even for business it has impacted greatly. Now you can publish your advertisements in Google's, and that's how mainly it make money as well. So yeah, many startups even have made millions of dollars just off the internet, right? So I wanted to talk about the bubble that was happening in the late 1990s. So what happened? A bit of a history. The internet started becoming commercialized in 1990s, which means that it started being used by business to make money, because before it was owned by government and only people in the military could use the internet, right? That was a core purpose of like inventing the internet before. But it started being used for business after late 1990s. And then at the end of 1990s, so around 1998 to March of 2000, the internet started having like a really high value. All the peoples around, all the investors who usually invest in a company, kind of started thinking that the internet is the next big thing. It's a future, like the future is totally dependent on the internet and such. So this was the main reason for the bubble to happen, dot-com bubble to happen. So because many people thought that the internet has such a great potential, they kind of just believed in all the companies that had internet, that kind of use internet. So they kind of had like a .com. It says .com because all the companies with .com in its domain name, like you see youtube.com, www.google.com, so those companies were highly valued because they were seen as next big thing in the tech industry and such. So even though the company didn't have any good revenue generation model, which is how usually investors think of investing. So even if it was just an idea for a company, investor kind of just invested their money for those companies. So this was the main reason behind the bubble to happen. So like they didn't follow even the basic fundamental rules of investing in a stock market. So you might be wondering what are the basic fundamental rules of investing in the stock market, right? So I'm not even a very good person at stocks either, but I researched a little bit about it, and one of the fundamental rules of stock market is also analyzing the price to earning ratio. So like, you can see a stock price for Tesla today, or any other companies, right? Amazon, any other companies, and you might not know if it's overvalued or undervalued, because obviously if the stock is undervalued, you would want to buy that stock so that you can eventually make money. But if it's overvalued, it might go down. So even if you buy the stock, you might lose your money on it, So basically, price to earning ratio is a measure of knowing if the stock is overvalued or undervalued. So if you go to detail about what is P to E ratio, what it does, it compares the stock price for the shares of a company to the amount of the net profit it made last year. So the earning that it made last year. So for example, there's this new company called biotech, right? And so then the stock price for this company is $100 per share. And if the company's made $20 per share in last year, the P to E ratio of this company is 100 divided by 20, which is 5, So by using this ratio, the companies are the investors usually know if the stock price for that company is overvalued or undervalued. So what happened in late 1990s is that investors didn't even look at the revenue generation model for the companies, or even the P to E ratio for the companies. So they just kind of dumped their money on any internet companies that they saw, and that's how the bubble started to happen. It was without any logic, they started spending a lot of money to the companies, and companies started being rich overnight. So that was the reason behind it. And there was also statistics saying that the companies which changed their domain name to .com, .com or .net, just by it could outperform his competitors by 63%. So just having that .com name in it or the .net name in it gave them a huge advantage, which is kind of funny, right? So many startups did that, and many startups raised millions of dollars by just even their domain name or even their business idea. So they haven't implemented anything, but they have money, So this is how a lot of companies started becoming rich, and companies started even dumping their money on it. But later, obviously the stock burst, .com burst happened, which means many investors sold their stock for the companies went down and down and down, because they realized that the companies wasn't making as much profit, or that it wasn't worth that much of a value. And so companies lost a lot of money, and stock market basically crashed. So I was wondering what happens if stock market crashes, right? What does it mean? Because the companies that's already sold their stocks in the extent of money. So what does it really mean for the stock market to crash? How does it impact companies, because they already got their money? So that was my question. So I tried to research about this, and I found that companies can basically sell more shares of stock. They can have additional amount of shares of stocks to raise cash for various purposes, including their expand. For example, PayPal share their stocks and share their stocks and gain the money from their stocks, and with hundreds of millions of dollars, they provided a $10 invite. So if you invite a friend, you get $10 kind of campaigns, right? Those campaigns they do by the fundings that they get or the money that they have. So to grow its user base, company usually require funding, and to require funding, companies can sell their stocks and they can acquire money rather than borrowing it from someone. So if the stock prices goes down, then companies has to sell basically a lot of shares just to get certain amount of money, while if the stock prices were high, they can just sell a few shares just for the same amount of money, So stocks going down is has a huge impact in the companies, in the sense that they cannot raise money for their companies, because they also have to pay their employees, right? And some companies can even buy other companies by the use of stock, because stock can be basically used as sort of currency. So like they can even use their shares of stock for buying other companies. And the other thing is that if the value of the share is very low, then it's very hard for a public to again gain that trust. So when they try to sell their share the second time, they feel like their value is really low, so many people doesn't want to buy it, and in that way that also impacts the company in a negative way, right? So that way, like when the stock price is depressed, like it goes down, then stock-based dealings becomes expensive for the companies as well. So that's how it impacted many companies, and many companies stopped operating, and we don't see those companies now. So yeah, that was the reason behind the dot-com bubble, because many companies were started, and these investors were crazy about this whole internet thing. So yeah, I hope you got something out of it, and you can always stay in touch with me if you have any feedback. Thank you. Bye.